Welcome back to the channel, guys. We have a wrapping on the brand new Friday the 13th prequel TV series called Crystal Lake that's coming out 2026 on Peacock, which is being produced by A24, and they just got done wrapping, at least in the main production down in Blairstown, New Jersey, which is the same location they filmed the original movie back in 1980. So in this video, we're going to go everything I know so far about this prequel TV series, with several behind the scenes and filming locations, set footage. We'll be going over all the casting, which a lot of these people, surprisingly, at least 5 to 6 people that I know in this TV series, they're characters from the original movie. We'll be getting to all that. We will be talking about who's playing the young Jason and the adult Jason. Of course, we will be going over the lawsuit with Victor Miller and Sean Cunningham. And whatever spoilers I do know, I will tell you guys about that. And lastly, we will be going over all the questions I have for this TV series, because I got a lot of questions. So let's get started.
Oh shit.
So let's kind of take a step back for people that aren't familiar with Friday the 13th, because there's a lot of movies. And I'll make this really quick before we jump into the new stuff. So of course, in 1980 was the very first movie, which was directed by Sean Cunningham and was written by Victor Miller. And later down the road, those two guys were in a big court battling over who owns what. I will talk a little more about that later on in this video. But in 1980, this Friday the 13th franchise made 8 movies in 10 years. So Halloween came out in 1978, and A Nightmare on Elm Street came out in 1984. Yes, Halloween is the best franchise of all horror movies, but Friday the 13th by far owned the 80s. And Nightmare on Elm Street was a solid second. Because Halloween is one of those franchises that has pretty much touched every decade, unlike Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, but the 80s was all about Friday the 13th. And I call those the Paramount years, because Paramount Pictures owned Friday the 13th for the first 8 films. Then New Line jumped in, and that's where Sean Cunningham, the director from the original movie, he came back and produced the 3 New Line films, which is Jason Goes to Hell, Jason X, and Freddy vs. Jason. And of course, we can say that Jason Goes to Hell is most likely the worst movie in the franchise. It just does not make sense. That's a hard one to watch.
Up and walking around anytime soon?
We really nailed that fucker.
You want nothing but a big old pussy anyway.
And of course, in 2009, we got the remake for Friday the 13th, which I think is fucking awesome. Platinum Dunes, they did the remake for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is spearheaded by Michael Bay. He did, Transformers, Bad Boys, just one of those great action directors of all time. And then we get a video game. We're all excited, and then after like the first year or two, it just stopped continuing it. And that's because of the lawsuit with Victor Miller and Sean Cunningham. So I'll make this short. Victor Miller was hired to write Friday the 13th. Of course, Sean Cunningham came up with the idea, but Victor Miller came up with the idea of the Jason, the town, Pamela Voorhees, all that stuff. Lawsuit happens, Victor Miller wins, but he only wins certain things. He doesn't own the adult Jason for movies. So if you want to make a Friday the 13th movie, Sean Cunningham is your guy, because Victor Miller, he owns the Friday the 13th title, Camp Crystal Lake, Young Jason, Pamela Voorhees. Anything in the original movie, that's pretty much Victor Miller. The rest of it is Sean Cunningham, and that's when it comes to movies. But this is a TV series, so it's completely different. But Victor Miller is the one that's spearheading this prequel TV series. It has nothing to do with Sean Cunningham. That's why a lot of this stuff is originated to the original movie. Here in a little bit, I'll be talking about the casting, and I already know about 4 to 5 of these characters are from the original movie. Alright, so let's talk about current stuff. So right now, the Friday the 13th is under this new branding as the Jason Universe, which is run by Horror Inc. We're going to get a new movie, a new look at Jason, which we already seen. It's got a lot of backlash, which is interesting because Greg Nicotero, he's the guy that came up with this idea, and he's one of the greatest special effects guys of all time. Him and Tom Savini, they're right up there. So it was kind of interesting that he got the negative backlash. We already got a short film with Sweet Revenge.
What kind of trouble?
Oh, the usual story. Revenge.
It's a short film. You're gonna like it, you're gonna love it for whatever reasons it is. I didn't like the look of Jason at all. So if that's gonna be the look of Jason in this universe, I'm not happy with that already. There's a website, new merchandise. They started a YouTube channel with like 3 videos. So I'm interested to see what happens with that. But right now, with this prequel TV series, let's talk about what we do know. A24, they are producing it. A24, they just got the rights with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. that would be a nice crossover down the road, because this takes place in 1971. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that movie came out, I think, 75, 76? So that would be an interesting crossover if they decide to do that. But A24, they had, Moonlight and Everything Everywhere All at Once. They won Best Picture. But the horror movies that we do know is Death of Unicorn, X, Pearl, Maxine, Civil War. And then, of course, we got some other good movies like The Iron Claw, The Smashing Machine, The Witch, The Lighthouse, Midsummer, Hereditary, Green Room, Ex Machina. Man, A24 knows how to make movies, and they've only been around for about 13 years, so very well done. Alright, so we know there's 8 episodes in this TV series, and it's rumored that it's about $10 million per episode. So that's $80 million. So very interesting to see what they do with that, because we really have like 1 or 2 people in this TV series that is like a famous actor, so to speak, where you see in their face, like, oh, I recognize that person. A lot of these casting is really unknowns, and I'll be getting to that in a second. But we do have 3 sets of directors doing these 8 episodes. The first 3 will be done by Michael Lennox, and then episode 4, 5, and 6 in the middle will be done by duo Selena Held and Logan George. The last 2 episodes, 7 and 8, will be done by Kian Tran. So we have 3 sets of directors, and that's pretty normal for a TV series. A lot of times, like the creator, the main guy will start it off and then kind of let it go to other directors. So it's very, very common. So originally we had Brian Fuller. He was going to be the main creator, the spearheaded guy, and I was excited. Hannibal, I love the Hannibal TV series. So I was super happy. And then we had the writers' strike, and that kind of hit a pause. And I think something happened during that, created a rift between Brian Fuller and A24, because they ended up letting him go. It could be the creative difference. I'm not sure, but it took a lot for him to go, because he is a really good guy. Whatever he was going to do with Hannibal, I was excited. He had Kevin Williamson was going to write an episode, and supposedly that one episode was going to be exactly nothing but a chase scene. So imagine like a 40 to 50 minute chase scene, and we were going to have Jason like on the lake, frozen. So imagine someone like ice fishing and getting attacked by Jason Voorhees, because we haven't seen Jason at all when it comes to snow and the ice. So that would have been very interesting. I hope they bring some of that back. But now the new direction is going to be by Bob Kane. Bob Kane is also producing the brand new prequel, It, Welcome to Derry, which comes out October 26th on the Warner Bros. Streaming app, HBO Max. So I'm super excited. Bob Kane, just seeing what I've seen in these trailers, he knows what he's talking about. I can tell the time frame, because that takes place in 1962, so there's about 10 years difference, but I can tell he's really good with this time period and storytelling. And the one thing I noticed about Bob Kane is, like, with It, Welcome to Derry, they really talk about the town of Derry, and I noticed with a lot of these pictures I will be showing you here in a little bit, a lot of it has to do with the town. In the original movie, you only see, like, the opening scene when the very first girl, she's hitchhiking to Camp Crystal Lake, she goes to town, she asks for directions, she gets a ride. That's really all we know about the town. So I'm really excited to really dig into the town. So before I get into the casting, the question is this a reboot? Is this a continuation? What is this? Because we know this takes place in 1971. But if we go by the original movie, the opening scene takes place in 1958, which is 1 year after Jason was drowned in 1957.
About the 2 kids murdered in 58? Huh? Boy drowning in 57? A bunch of fires? Nobody knows who did any of them. In 1962, they was going to open up. The water was bad.
So, Pamela Voorhees, that was only a 1 year turnaround. If Jason drowned in 57 and then this takes place in 1971, that's a long, continuous jump compared to the original movie. It could happen, but I don't see that. I think Jason drowned in, say, 1970, and then the next year she did herself. I could be completely wrong. But so far, we haven't really got confirmation. We just know it's a prequel to the original movie. I think it's a soft reboot, so to speak. So now let's get into the cast. So we all know that Pamela Voorhees, obviously the mother of Jason Voorhees, the killer in the first movie, she is going to be the prominent role, the main focus of this TV series, at least for season 1. I don't see this being a season 1 and done, unless it's really terrible, which I have a hard time believing it with A24. I mean, look what they did with X. The look of X was exactly what I hope we get for this, because that was like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, spot on. So, super excited. But let's talk about who is playing who. Linda Cardellini, she's playing Pamela Voorhees. I remember her from ER back in the days. I love ER. But I'm super stoked for her to be in this. And it shows on IMDb, like, all the episodes, like, how many episodes they're actually going to be in. She's going to be in 6 episodes. And so there's 2 episodes she's not going to be in. So is that going to be a time jump where she dies and then the older Jason comes back? Very possible. Supposedly, this character, Pamela Voorhees, is a little different than the original movie. Because in this one, she gives up her singing career. I guess she was a really famous singer. She gives that up to help out her son Jason because he's mentally challenged. In the original movie, Pamela was a cook. Yeah, she might be a cook for this, but so far, I just know she was a singer. So, when Brian Fuller was on board, Adriana Kane, which played Alice Harding from the first movie, she's supposed to come back. So it's very interesting how she's coming back. And then when Brian Fuller left, is she going to stay with the program or not? And it looks like she is still coming back. So very interesting how she's going to come back. Because here are some other characters that we know are coming back. Like, for example, the Crazy Ralph from 1 and 2.
You're going to Camp Blood, ain't you?
God damn it, Ralph, get out of here. Go on, get. Leave people alone.
You'll never come back again.
He is going to be coming back. So I'm not going to name all these actors who play in these characters because all these actors are really unknown. So I'm just going to talk about the characters. So we see Kay Christie, which is like, wait, that last name seems familiar. That's Steve Christie from the original movies.
Steve Christie.
Hey,
Marcia.
this is Marcy. I'm Ned Rubenstein.
Welcome to Camp Crystal Lake.
Thank you.
This is Alice.
Hi. Steve, cabin B's all ready.
Are they siblings? Most likely, but then we go further down, there he is right there, Steve Christie. So we have the Christies, brother and sisters, or a mom and dad, but Steve Christie, you know, the counselor, the main guy.
Hi. What are you doing out in this mess?
The one that was trying to get with Alice. He's coming back. Another person that's coming back. So over here it says Dorf. And Dorf, we're like, wait, why does that sound familiar? Because that cop, the one that's on the motorcycle, that is Dorf. So we have him coming back.
We ain't gonna stand for no weirdness out here.
The first 2 people who get killed in the Friday 13 movies of all time, Barry and Claudette.
We weren't doing anything. We were just messing up.
So they were the first 2 to get killed by Pamela Voorhees in that very opening scene. You know, that scene is really similar to like Jaws. You know, you got this cute couple and then one goes off, gets killed, but in this case, they both get slaughtered. They will both be coming back, but what's interesting is Barry is only under 1 episode, where Claudette is 6 episodes. So Claudette and Pamela Voorhees are 6 episodes, so Claudette must have a very prominent role in this, where I'm guessing, so they're definitely switching this up somehow. Alright, so let's talk about other things. So we have casting for young Jason. Callum Vincent, like I said, he's an unknown guy. But the fact that we're getting young Jason for 4 episodes, and then we already know we have adult Jason. So we were going to get rumored that we were going to get this WWE guy, Braun Strowman, as a big adult Jason. You need that one Jason where he's like older. And it's very possible to have more than 1 adult Jasons. And for this reason, a lot of the movies had more than 1 because one did like the stunts and the other one kind of did the walking and all that stuff. That's why you always had multiple Jasons playing multiple movies, because there's always one guy doing a couple stunts here and a couple stunts there. Very possible this could be it. Or we're getting different looks at adult Jason. You know, like, say Jason at like 19 and then Jason at 30. We see the growth from that. Very possible. So other characters we want to talk about is this guy named Levon Brooks. He is the chief of police, and he is played by William Catlett. This guy is somewhat familiar, because if you've seen the Abigail movie, he is in this. I honestly thought he was the son of that guy from Die Hard 2 in the church, the bad guy. He looks identical like him. I really thought that was his father. Other characters we have a mayor, we have campers, we have kids, we have counselors, we have other cops, we even have a doctor. I don't think he's going to be like a doctor. I think he's going to be more like a psychological, psychologist doctor, because we've seen that several times in a Friday the 13th movie. There's also some other people that are just basic names that we do know, but I can't tell you if they're going to be prominent roles or just a person here and there. Alright, so next up I want to talk about is it's a set photos and the behind the scene look. Alright, let's go over some set photos behind the scenes stuff we know. So the first one is we got some extras around town, and you can tell it's definitely time period of the 70s. These guys make me want to go fishing super bad. Alright, so the town plaque of Crystal Lake. We all know that, like I said, Welcome to Derry, which is coming out here soon. They're really going to dive into the town of Derry. They haven't really done that much with this franchise, and I'm really excited to see what they do with Crystal Lake. There's a lot to know about this town. There's a lot to discover, a lot of backstory. Super excited that they're really diving into that. Here's the first look of Crazy Ralph talking with Pamela Voorhees. He definitely has that same look. He has that hat. Super excited to see what we're going to get with Crazy Ralph, because really we don't know much about him. We haven't seen him talk with Pamela Voorhees, so this is very interesting to see what happens. This is a dope cabin. So like what makes a good Friday the 13th movie is obviously the location of the lake, the cabin, where the Calsters stay, and like Friday the 13th, the reboot, 2009. That was an awesome, sick cabin on the lake, dude. So this kind of gives me that same vibe. So I'm super stoked that this is going to be where the campers stay. Here's a look at the lake. Because like part 3, that was like a parking lot, pathetic lake. Super stoked we're actually getting a bigger lake. I'm just glad we're getting an actual lake. Like what the original movie, part 2, pretty much any movie but the third one had a solid lake. So I'm really glad they're like sticking to this and they're actually showing a real actual lake. Here's another look of Crazy Ralph talking with Pamela Voorhees in the white jacket. Yeah, ice cream for 69 cents. Not a bad deal. Here's another photo of Ralph and Pamela talking. Like I said, they never talked in the original movie or the second, pretty sure. Here's a closer look of her. And earlier I said that I'm not sure if she's going to be a cook like in the original movie she was. And it looks like she is. She's wearing an apron. So it's very possible she's a cook in this also. Here is the famous Jeep that we saw from the original movie. We see her driving around like a crazy bat out of hell. I'm glad that's coming back because that's almost a character of itself. And you can see in the top corner of Town Hall. So the fact that she must be very advocate about like going around town, being very vocal. So I'm excited to see how, because like when I think of Town Hall, I think of the Town Hall meeting and Jaws. That would be really cool if there's something like that with Pamela Voorhees. All right, so to our left, that is our chief of police, and to our right is our mayor. I'm really interested to see what the police has to do with this universe. Like, are they going to be corrupt? Are they be cool? Are they going to be short-staffed? How are they going to be compared to this TV series? I really have no idea. This mayor, I really don't know much about him, but so like, are these two going to be on Pamela Voorhees' side after Jason drowns? Are they going to be like fed up? Like, oh, here's Miss Voorhees again. We got to deal with Crazy Voorhees. Interesting to see what we do with these two characters. Here she is again, waving at us. Hello, waving back at you. Here's another look at the lake, and this is a dope lake. I don't know if this is going to be actually the dock where Jason could possibly drown, because like we saw the flashback in Freddy vs. Jason. Yeah, I don't put that much into canon, but like he pretty much jumps off the same dock and drowns. But this is a sweet lake. I love the way this looks. This is why I'm super glad they're filming it in the original location of the first movie. Alright, so here's a nice little Easter egg. This truck we all know from the very first movie, when I think it's Annie. She gets, I could be wrong. I think it's Annie. Where she gets a ride from town, but she gets dropped off, and then she gets picked up by Mrs. Voorhees, and she kills her. But this is the same truck, and Enos, E-N-O-S, Enos, that's a character's name. The fact that he's not on the casting sheet yet, like on IMDb, I'm not surprised though, because there are some people that aren't named yet, but the fact that we see his truck, I'm pretty sure we're going to run into the same character.
You're an American original.
I'm an American original. Dumb kid.
Alright, here's a look at the police car, motorcycle, the police station. I think they're going to have some part in this universe, but I don't think they're going to be a main thing. Here's another look at the town hall sign. Here's another look behind the scenes with some locals, some extras, and it must be a very fishing town. And I'm jealous, dude. I'm over here in Omaha, Nebraska. We're nowhere near the ocean. So here's Pamela Voorhees again, but with a different outfit. So this is definitely going to be taking place over multiple days, obviously. So this is one thing that's interesting. This is going to be taking place over Founders Day cookout. Okay, so that's why she has the apron. So she's doing this cookout most likely. So I don't know if she's going to be a cook, like that's her profession, like the original movie, or it's just for this cookout. I'm not quite sure. Here's another look at the police department. Here's another look at the Jeep. at the police station, so you can have Pamela Voorhees having a chat with the chief of police. Very possible. Here's another look at it, and it looks like there's more than one Jeep because you see the one on the left and right. So I'm assuming one must be for one reason and the other one is for another reason. I don't know. So here is Mama's Boy. That is the title, the filming title when they made this. And it looks like Crazy Ralph is on the screen with Pamela Voorhees again. So a lot of this Pamela Voorhees and Crazy Ralph interaction. Alright, this is a close-up of what I was showing you earlier with that cabin. And it says, welcome camper. So this is definitely the kids spot or the counselors. I'm assuming the kids are going to stay there. And that instantly reminds me of, you know, part 6 when Jason blows through the door and all the kids take off. I love that. Okay, so earlier I showed you this picture, but like I kind of zoomed in and you can kind of see in the corner there's the dock. So this confirms that this is the location of that dock, which I'm sure we're going to see plenty of in this TV series. So here's another picture of one of the cars that's around town. I love the muscle cars of the 60s and 70s. Super excited to see. That also reminds me of part 6 when the whole enchilada scene, the car chase, that was a sweet car.
Got the whole enchilada. It's a 77 orange Camaro, license number Mary William 8510.
That's my daughter's car.
So here's another behind the scenes, and you can see in the left-hand corner, there's that truck again. So that truck is the one that was taken in the beginning of the movie. I'm assuming this guy is definitely going to be in this. I'm not sure, minor role, cameo, but the fact that he's in multiple photos I've seen, at least the truck, so I can see him definitely being somewhat of a main character, most likely. Alright, this is one of my favorite pictures. This is Pamela Voorhees, and look at what she has in her hands. Is that like a vice grip? But dude, that is terrifying seeing her walking around with this vice grip. I'm not even sure what's that around her wrist. It's like a, is that even, it looks like it might be connected with the vice grip. That is pretty sweet, dude. I'm excited to see. That's like the really first violent we see of Pamela Voorhees. Alright, next, so this is like one of the only ones, and it's really hard to see, but it's like from afar, and they're filming out in the woods. So like, of course, it's not going to all be in town. It's not going to all be in a cabin. Some of it's going to be out walking around in the woods. That's what makes Friday 13 the setting that it is. Here's another look at that dock with the boat next to it that we most likely get to see again. And this is the night version of the same dock. So that is really cool, the way they lit this up at nighttime. Oh, dude, I cannot wait. Here's another angle of that Crystal Lake Founders Day celebration. This would be a nice crossover with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They come in, do that chili cook-off. That would be sweet, dude. And then the Sawyer family just leaves and like, see you later.
Drayton did it again. Number one. Number one. The Sawyers are number one.
So in this image, this is what tells me is 1971. Because they have right here in the bottom left corner, the staffing, the people, and the year. This is most likely on the side of the cabin. And here's a closer look at the staff members, 1971. So this is what gives me the idea that this is going to be taking place in 1971. And I forgot where else I noticed it, but I did see it somewhere. I think it was on a banner. Yep, right here. So this one, you see right there, Camp Crystal Lake 71. So this is definitely going to be taking place in 71 or the year after 71. I don't see why that would. So most likely this will be 1971. Here's a side look at one of the cabins. Very hippie. You know, Vietnam was just about, that was 1955 to 1975. So the Vietnam's about to be over. It's all about that peace, love, and that time era. So there's going to be a lot of weed smoking. And that's the very last picture I have of behind the scenes. So the last thing I want to talk about is the questions I have personally for this Friday 13 franchise. Obviously, the Jason. We're going to give him his young Jason, most likely before he drowns. Then he drowns. And then I don't know what the time frame is. It's going to be 1 year, 10 years, 15 years until we get the adult Jason. But we're going to get the adult Jason. But what form of adult Jason we're going to get? And how is he going to look? That's really the question. And also, like, human versus supernatural. Because obviously he started off human, but then throughout the time, he became nothing but 100,000% supernatural. The 2009 reboot brought him back to human, like the hunter survivalist. I love that. I really hope we stick with that. I really hope we don't do this supernatural Jason. Like, I hope he, like, drowns but doesn't drown. And then Pamela's like, know what? I'm just going to keep you hidden from everyone else in the woods, and I'm going to do my revenge. And then when you get older, we can tag team it together. That would be awesome. And of course, when are we going to get the full Jason? The hockey mask, machete, all that good stuff. That's also a big question. Season 1, Season 2, Season 3. How soon? And are we going to get the potato sack head like we saw in Part 2? Or is he going straight to the hockey mask? The young Jason, is he going to be talking? Because we know Jason doesn't talk. Is he going to be talking like Rob Zombie, the reboot for 1 and 2? In the very first movie, the first like 20 minutes is nothing but Michael Myers as a kid just yapping his fucking mouth.
I hate you.
And I hate you too. You see this? As soon as this heals, I'm gonna break it again on your fucking face.
Enough, all right? Can we just...
Are we going to get that with Jason? I really hope not. And like, what the foreign mental are we going to get of Jason? Like, we've seen him all different types of like Down syndrome, mentally retarded. What are we going to get with this kid? The Season 2 timeline. Is there going to be a jump gap? Is there going to be a continuation? Like the next year, 10 years, the next night? Jason's dad. We really haven't got nothing with Jason's dad. We kind of had something with Part 6. He was going to pay the guy that takes care of the cemetery. He was going to pay him to make sure like no one messes with Jason's grave. Are we going to get any backstory with that?
Some folks have a strange idea of entertainment.
How big is Crystal Lake? The town of Crystal Lake? Is it a small little town, or is it like a decent sized town? Because Haddonfield started out as a small town, but then that sucker ended up being huge by the time it was David Gordon Green's trilogy. That thing's massive. And what are we doing with Alice, the returning character from the original movie? Like, how is she coming back? That is my question, because like she's playing herself, but clearly she's not as young as she was in the original movie. Very interesting to see what we're going to do with that. And like, for those that haven't seen Friday the 13th at all, are we going to have a red herring? Like, is Pamela Voorhees going to be the obvious killer? Or is she going to be a red herring like it was in the original movie? Like, who is the killer? Very interesting how they're going to tackle that point of view. And then the music, the score, the composer, that really determines a lot how this is going to feel, like the tone, the vibe. Lastly, like, what was it? American Horror Story 1984. Mr. Jingles, like that tone, that vibe. I really love that. That was really cool, but they didn't really have the seriousness though. But that was a really good comedy relief, and like the way they did like with the nudity and sexual stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. So I hope they bring a little bit of that back. Alright, Sexy Monkeys, that is all I got. If you have any more about this Friday the 13th TV series, drop it down in the comments below and we can talk about it. Until then, Sexy Monkeys, it'll be a while till we get a trailer. It's going to be coming out sometime 2026. So stick around. If I get more news, I'll let you know. Until then, hope you have a good day.